Hey everybody, welcome as we prepare now for the 32nd Sunday, and beginning right here in the month of November already, be the second Sunday in November, right? Well, actually the first, but anyway. And you know what that means, we're heading down to Thanksgiving, a beautiful holiday, and then before you know it, be Christmas, but we know that routine. But let's stay focused on what lies before us. And there's a little short gospel, talking about looking for attention, and also, to me, generosity. And the gospel reads, "And in his teaching he said, 'Beware of the scribes who like to go about in long robes, and to have salutations in the marketplaces, and the best seats in the synagogues and places of honor at feast, who devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. They receive the greater condemnation.' And he sat down opposite the treasury, and watched the multitude putting money into the treasury. Many rich people put in large sums, and a poor widow came and put in 2 copper coins, which make a penny. And he called his disciples to him and said to them, 'Truly, I say to you, this poor widow has put in more than all those who were contributing to the treasury. For they all contributed out of their abundance, but she out of her poverty has put in everything she had, her whole living.'" And that's the gospel of the Lord. Wow, such generosity. And I was going to address the scribes first, but it just, as I read this, it just overtakes me. This woman's generosity, give everything she had to live on. And she's a widow, and so we're not sure if she has any children, because without children, then you're really out in the boat without the oars, you're in trouble. And she gave, a penny? How small that was, and others who had much more wealth, put in much larger sums, of course. But she gave everything she had to her, trusting in God's providence. It's hard to let go of money. Money represents our security. It's a means to what we consider happiness, right? The freedom to do things. It's a stress reducer, right? Nothing like having to worry about paying bills and not having the money. Perhaps many of you have gone through that, knowing what that's like. In my own childhood, my father getting laid off and not having a job, and it was, you could feel the tension, the stress. So having money is it's a necessary, live in this world. And maybe if you came from simple, humble means and you realize the value of $1, it's hard to let go if you feel you don't want to waste it. And I know my mom drummed into me, save, be careful, hold on to your money, don't waste it. And it's fighting against those words of advice. But I would say in my later second half of my priesthood, what I really have come to learn in my own spiritual life, of all the things that had me grow, I think I mentioned that the retreats are great, and masses and conferences and books I've read and different talks. I can go on and on. But really what really made my faith grow is when I began being generous, not just with my time or my talent, but with my treasure. I thought I was excused. I figured I worked for the church. The salary's not over the top, living high off the land. But once I began giving, what I really believe, once you open up your wallet, you open up your heart to God. When you open your wallet, you open your heart to God. Because that's usually the last barrier that we keep hands off to God. You could have other things, my time, and go to Mass, and I even help out, but it's being generous. Because with fear of the future, what if? Don't we live with what ifs? What if I get sick? What if this happens? What if the economy drops? It's all these things, and a lot of it makes sense. You can't be naive, you can't be senseless, you got a plan. But to be generous. I wouldn't suggest being generous as his widow, who gave everything. That might be a little much. But then I told myself, well, she's this poor. She puts in the poor box. Well, it's just going to come back to her anyway, probably. Who was going to give she's the poor one. But seriously, though, you really look at your generosity, especially with your treasure, how difficult it is to let go. To let go of that. But once you do, when your hands open, then you can receive. And God will bless you. God will bless you. So I hope that we can be moved by this beautiful widow who's generous. But before that, we have the scribes. Oh, they like the attention. And I know people like that. You're going through the seminary and through the priesthood. There are those who like the long the fancy robes. They like the titles, respect. I'm guilty of it. Nothing is pretty, as fine or as gratifying to be called father. I have to say that. Being called father is an honor. And I hope, though, it's not simply a title of, whoa, adulation, but it reminds me how I'm supposed to respond. So you got to be careful of that, but it's something about it. Now, back then, the heroes of society, people they looked up to, unlike our society, we look up to what? Movie stars, athletes. They gain our attention. We put them on pedestals, right? So back then, during the first century, there wasn't any NBA or NFL. But those really, what people respected were the scribes and Pharisees. Because the Jews have a great respect for education and learning. And the scribes, means writing, actually the Greek word is grammateus, which sounds like grammar, means a person of letters. All right? And what letter did they read? It's most notably the sacred writings of the Hebrew Bible itself. And so they're the ones who held in high regard. And they enjoyed it. Yeah, they liked it. They liked getting the best seats. Not only that, in churches, how about that? You maybe have your own parking space reserved for you. Doesn't get much better than that. Have your name right there, parking space reserved, don't park. And so it's easy to fall into that, and because it's very comfortable to be treated special in our own ways. And sometimes you as parents perhaps, push that and want to be treated, be special as well. You got to be careful. I remember at a parish mission, the priest who gave a good talk. He was talking about, he singled out fathers. Dad has to have his way. Dad has to, give in to Dad. He goes, who the heck? Well, he didn't say heck. Who the heck is Dad? So wow. It sort of knocked him down a peg. But also what they did, though, the scribes back then, they find some widows, particularly the rich widows who had money. And perhaps they didn't have anyone to pass on their inheritance. Boy, these scribes would zero in on them. Oh, my. A lot of women are church women, right? You see in the church, women, they come to church and they have a high respect, for the clergy, for those who work in the church. And they would get on their good side, hoping to, sometimes they were, in a sense, almost rob them blind. Their money, their household, right? And they would impress them by saying these long, flowery prayers, trying to look holy. And meanwhile, the widows losing their income. And so Jesus speaks about that. And so as a good contrast, we have the scribes who love their money, love their title, and this poor little widow has nothing, who puts a little penny in. And that's who Jesus praises. So be careful in our own life then, not seeking titles or honor, respect. Again, always to be the servant, as we repeat here, to be the servant. But also, I mentioned in the beginning, to generosity. So I want you to ask yourself, examine yourself, say, well, why am I not more generous with my funds? We create so many needs that they think so important. So many needs. We want something, we get it. But we have money. We have money for things. Give money to God's work, to God's church. Because the only thing you could take with you is what you're giving away. That's it. So I pray that God can move our hearts to open our wallets, and we open our heart to God. God bless you.